right then, folks. So it's not my problem. Doddle now, isn't it? So we'll ask people as we go. So let's start with let's go with John. The outside PVC can be two colours, grey being one. What's the other colour it can be?
White.
It can be white. So if I get some traditional modern white PVC cabled like so, okay, what is the properties, Ed, of white PVC cable?
That's the zero smoke halogen cable, isn't it?
Yeah,
low
smoke. Yeah, low smoke zero halogen, or low smoke no halogen. Yeah, and we've got a video on the channel talking about that. Can anyone remember? And this is open to everyone. What's quite difficult about using this as a wiring system? Exactly the same color conductors, etc. What's difficult about it?
It's very hard to manipulate, isn't it? To work
Yeah,
with.
it's really difficult to get nice bends on it because of the properties now of the PVC. This low smoke zero or no halogen outer sheath cable is really difficult to work with. However, back in the day, we used to have white PVC cable like this. I've had this probably 20 years. Now, this is what you used to buy at a DIY shop. So whenever I looked in someone's roof space and saw white cable, I'll tell you about orange cable when I saw that the other time, but I saw white cable, you go, oh, DIYs, yeah, has had a go at those sorts of things. So we've got this white standard, and you can see it's really easy to bend. So that's a 10 mil cable, I think, and I put a lovely bend in that really easy. So you just got to be careful as you move towards domestic installer status. Sometimes you'll see early white PVC cables, exactly the same properties as our grey stuff. And then the modern stuff is this low smoke zero halogen. Okay, so we've got those two different things. Back in 2004, we changed our cable colours for single phase. So if we say let's go to Tim. Can you remember what the old line conductor colour was?
Red, wasn't it? Or black?
Yeah.
I'll go first one, red.
Red. So line was red. And Nick, can you remember what the neutral colour was?
Black.
Yeah, it was. So as we look here, we've got a cable that predates 2004. And of course, we've got the red line conductor and the black neutral. Now, we can see this very regularly in domestic dwellings. And as you move towards your domestic installer course, you're going to see these type of things. However, there is nothing stopping us from interfacing the two conductors. So our new colours we're really comfortable with from the workshop being brown and blue. And we're really happy with the fact that we can interface those conductors. In other words, in the back of a socket outlet that's already got red and black in it, introduce a cable which is brown and blue. Same with the lighting circuit, etc. However, we are expected to do some sort of indication to the person that follows you into the installation. Anyone know what we're expected once we alter a circuit in a domestic dwelling, which is red and black, when we introduce new cable colours? Anyone can answer.
Isn't he add a sticker to the consumer unit identifying?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look in the on-site guide then, folks. So let's get our guides out. And we need to go to page 60. Page 60, on-site guide.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got that. So this necessarily is not the focus of the notes, but as we're doing slightly beyond the notes because we're trying to prepare for that domestic installer. Can we see the sticker there? This wiring installation has two versions of BS7671. Great care should be taken before undertaking the extension, alterations or repairs that all conductors are correctly identified. Now, in a single phase domestic dwelling, the identification is not one that needs to be labelled. So as we interface them, we leave the sticker on the consumer unit. They're happy that we've left it brown and red together and black and blue together. And of course, we've got our three core colours in switches as well. It's when we step up to a three-phase system that's not enough. You can't, for instance, interface three-phase colours that are old. Anyone know the old three-phase colours?
Yellow, blue and red.
And if we added another conductor in there as well?
Black.
Yeah, so if we look here, old steel or armoured here. So we've got red, yellow, blue, black. Now, obviously now we've got to work out what are our line conductor colours. So under our old system, our line L1 would be?
Red.
Anyone can
Red.
Yeah,
Red.
L1's red. L2?
Black.
Yellow.
It is yellow, yeah. Well
I
done.
would say yellow as well.
Yeah, and then now, here we go. Which one's L2? 3, sorry.
Blue.
L3 is blue, yeah.
Blue.
Yeah. Leaving which one's neutral?
Black.
Black,
It could be a CPC. It could be the fact that we're using it as a balanced three-phase load and we don't identify this as green and yellow. But let's go with it's the armour in providing the CPC or an additional conductor. So what we've got now we've got a nice problem, haven't we? Old system blue is which conductor?
Black.
Old colours. The blue is
Line
3.
line 3. Yeah. Black is
Neutral.
new system colour. What colour's blue in the new system?
Blue.
Neutral.
Yeah. And what's black?
L3.
L3.
L2.
Yeah. So brown, black, grey, L2. So we're really close. So, so you can now see and then you see the hassle. Look, when we did our steel armoured circuit, when we identified which conductor did we identify a 3-core armoured, which one did we identify when they were brown, black, grey? Which one was our protective conductor? Brown, black. We used the black as the CPC, didn't we? And as the grey as our neutral, because what were we trying to do with the black? What was
Stop using it as a neutral.
Yeah, deneutralising black. So, so now you can see where we're in an industrial situation where you've perhaps got a machine, a cable needs to be extended, and we're jointing it together. We've now got to identify these conductors so we're clear what's L1, L2, L3, and neutral. So let's look in the on-site guide again. So we need to look at the very back. We're in Appendix K. What did I say H for? And we're on page 203, right at the bottom.
Yep.
Happy with that? All got that? Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see there, look, now all of a sudden, once we're interfacing our 3-phase colours, old and new, we must mark them. Red as L1, yellow as L2, blue as L3, black as neutral. If you look across the other side, we've got brown, black, grey, L1, L2, L3, and blue as neutral. So it's clearly laid out for you there that when interfacing 3-phase colours, you must, those little ringlets that we've seen on college, identifying conductors when we've used them in single-phase consumer units just to do a better job. Yeah. We're probably going to be having using something like that as you're joining 2 cables together. So super important. Open up a consumer unit of mixture colours. So with 3-phase consumer unit, we've got a lot of pre-2004 cables feeding machinery, and you introduce a new machine in the new colours, identify them at point of connection within the consumer unit. So in other words, at the 3-phase breaker and the neutral bar. You can see how once we start changing a consumer unit or in the distribution board in a 3-phase installation, distribution board, which has got a mixture of 2004 before and after cable colours. Once you rip that board out, it's hanging there. You're going to have blues that are which conductor?
Black.
Blues are going to be which conductor? Name the conductor the blue would be.
It'd be L3.
It could be L3, or it could be
Neutral.
And then we've got a black conductor, which could be
L2.
Or it could
be
PVC.
Neutral.
Or CPC. Oh, yeah. So,
Careful.
So we can see that once we get away from a single-phase domestic dwelling where a sticker's enough on the consumer unit, and we start moving into our industrial systems, it's really important that we identify those cables correctly. Okay, so let's just go back through the easy stuff that we did probably in week 2 with Gaz as we were lifting boxes around all the rest of it. Let's go with Gramos. You still there?
Yeah.
The blue conductor, name it for me.
Neutral.
And the brown conductor?
Line.
Good. And the bare conductor in the centre we call?
CPC.
Good. And John, what do we describe the brown and blue conductors together as?
Line conductors.
I didn't quite hear you. Say it again, John. I'm veering on here. Absolutely terrible. Yeah. So we describe those as live conductors. Why do we call them live conductors, Ed?
Because they both carry a current.
And if 10 amps went down the line conductor, how much goes down the neutral?
10.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So that's why we've got those. Anyone remember from the classroom, the workshop, why the CPC isn't in these styles of cables covered in any PVC?
Because it only carries current under fault conditions.
Fault conditions to where?
Earth.
What?
And good. And Nick, Dan even. So I nearly got you, Dan. Nearly got you. Dan, what's the maximum time the CPC will carry current for us? Maximum time.
0.5.
Okay. And Tim, maximum time?
5 seconds.
And let's go for John, maximum time?
0.4.
And Ed?
Is it 40 milliseconds?
Wow.
Or is it 400? 400
Wow.
milliseconds.
Any more answers? Gramos, do you want to give us your answer?
0.2.
Wow. A little bit of me died inside there, I'm without knowing the overcurrent protection device, we always said that the first time you came to see me, the maximum time was 5 seconds, wasn't it? And we would then layer in TN systems effectively. We wouldn't necessarily look at TT at level 2, but we said the maximum time a CPC will carry current for is 5 seconds. Once we knew the fuse sizes, and then we could start working out whether it was a 0.4 disconnection time, excluding TT earthing arrangements. Okay, so just a little tear came up me on there.
Oh, so,
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, I know you did, but everyone did. Yeah,
I know.
Once I didn't give you a okay. The outside of the cable, let's go for John. The outside of the cable is providing us with, in this case it's grey, it doesn't matter if it's grey or white, it's still providing us with.
Mechanical protection.
It is, okay, so that's a mechanical protection. It's made of what type of material, please, Dan?
PVC.
Good, and Ed, what does PVC stand for?
Polyvinyl chloride.
Good. What's the maximum, sorry, let's go for minimum first. Tim, what's the minimum installation temperature of any PVC, whether it be conduits or cables, etc.?
Room temperature. And I can't remember what it actually is from degree point of view.
Okay, so let's go for Gramos. Can you remember the minimum installation temperature of PVC?
No.
Okay, well done. And John?
Above 0.
Thank you very much, above 0 degrees. However, if we left a drummer cable, bundle of plastic conduit on the floor on a building site overnight, it fell below 0. Ed, how much time must it be spent in an ambient temperature above 0 before we can start installing it?
It's 24 hours, isn't it?
It was. And for the older people, and there is none anymore, it was how far Gene Pitney was away from Tulsa. That used to be another. Back in the early days, that used to be a good one. Now I've run out of people that know who Gene Pitney is. Okay, so we know that. We know that the insulation around the conductors here is a type of PVC. I don't mind if you want to show the hands, which gives a nod. Anyone know what the PVC around the actual conductors is called? Type of PVC? Gone in, Ned?
Thermoplastic.
Yeah, thermoplastic PVC. And as you went up there, Tim, do you know the maximum operating temperature of thermoplastic PVC?
70 degrees, isn't it?
70 degrees, yeah. And if we look at an old steel were armoured, and remember when we worked with them in the workshop, I know they're old colours, but the insulating material around these, we found it a lot harder to strip off, a lot tougher in order to get it off. It has a different maximum operating temperature. John, can you remember? Maximum operating temperature of this insulating material around conductors in armoured.
90 degrees.
Yeah, and can you remember the material?
No, I've forgotten, to be fair.
Okay. Gramos, can you remember what it is?
Thermoplastic.
That was one of them. That was thermoplastic. What's the other? What's its friend?
Copper.
No, it's thermo. Still with thermo.
Ed?
Thermosetting.
Thermosetting PVC. And we know from John it's got a 90 degrees. If these were both, which they are, 2.5, this one here cannot carry current as much as this one here. So this can carry more current, because when a conductor carries current, it creates heat. This can work up to a maximum temperature of 90 degrees, and this can work up to a maximum of 70. Okay, so remember that. And we looked at mineral insulated cables briefly at the end, didn't we? And we know that they can run even hotter. There'll be some videos to follow on MI cables as well. So that's another thing to bear in mind. You might do a little bit of a design calculation, maybe a cable out to an outbuilding or something like that in your domestic installer days, and when you go to look at it, you'll see that the 2.5 armoured cable can carry more current than its twin and CPC equivalent, and that's when you have to link back to the insulating material being thermosetting PVC, maximum operating temperature of 90. We have to take into consideration the temperature around the cables. John, can you remember what the temperature around the cables is called?
Ambient temperature.
Brilliant, yeah, and we need to take into, so if the ambient temperature around this cable was 70 degrees C, you couldn't carry any current through it because it would be at its maximum already. So we know that when it carries current, it creates heat. Obviously 70 degrees, it's 25 outside and we're all wearing shorts and it's killing us. You know, some of us got muscle vests on. Yeah, just there for me. Might be somewhere else for everyone else, but it's just there for me.
Yeah,
so
I'm in Benidorm.
Yeah. So again, depending on when we go to cable design later on in the notes, we'll look at how the ambient temperature affects the cable's ability to dissipate heat. And remembering that we're working within the parameters of that 70 degrees on twin and CPC cables. Right, okay.